Day 13, why you don't need a big decision, you need a safe place. I want to start today by saying something out loud that many women don't give themselves permission to hear. You don't need to figure everything out right now. I know that sounds simple, almost too simple. But if you're anything like the women I talk to every day, and if you're still here watching, I'm guessing this idea might actually feel uncomfortable because you're used to being decisive, you're used to making things happen, and you're used to being the one people rely on to have the answers. So when you feel unsure, when you feel paused, when you feel like you don't know what your next move is, your mind starts a story. And it says, I should know this by now. I shouldn't still be questioning. I don't have time to sit and think. I need to act. But what if that voice isn't wisdom? What if it's exhaustion, pretending to be urgency? I've noticed something about high capacity women. As we get older, as life gets fuller, as responsibilities stack, early in life, big decisions feel exciting. They feel energizing. They feel like possibilities. But after years of carrying careers, families, relationships, finances, caregiving, leadership, and expectations, big decisions start to feel heavy. Not because we're afraid, but because we're tired of the cost of being wrong. We lived through decisions that required more from us than anyone acknowledged. We've adjusted when plans didn't work out, and we've pivoted when life changed without asking permission. So now, when someone says, just take the leap, just decide, just go for it, our nervous system doesn't light up. It tightens because we're not asking, can I do this? We're asking, can I survive the aftermath if this becomes another thing I have to carry alone? This is the part I want you to hear gently. If you feel stuck right now, if you feel paused, if you feel like you're circling the same questions without moving, it's probably not because you're indecisive. It's because you don't feel safe enough to decide. Safe enough emotionally, safe enough energetically, safe enough to be honest about what you want without immediately having to justify it. Most women don't need another strategy. They need a place where their shoulders can drop, a place where they're not being evaluated, a place where no one is waiting for them to perform, a place where they're not expected to arrive with clarity already figured out. Clarity doesn't come before safety. It comes after. I remember a season where I kept trying to force myself into decisions. I told myself, just pick something, just move forward. Momentum will come later. But every time I tried to push, I felt more resistance inside myself. And it finally hit me. I wasn't resisting the decision. I was resisting the pressure to explain, pressure to commit, pressure to show up before I felt ready. Pressure to be strong when I actually needed to be supported. Once I stopped trying to rush myself and gave myself permission to rest in uncertainty for a moment, I could finally hear what I actually wanted. And that changed everything. And here's the truth. I wish more women were told you don't need to know if entrepreneurship is your path. You don't need to know if you'll ever leave your job. You don't even need to know what the next 5 years will look like. You don't even have to know what your next step is. What you need is a place where you can think without pressure, a place where questions are allowed to exist, a place where you don't have to decide anything today. That's it. When women have that, clarity starts to surface on its own, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly and steadily. The Von Swy Recreation Station wasn't created for women who have it all figured out. It was created for women who carry a lot and need somewhere to set it down. It's not a place where you'll have to show up all polished. It's not a place where you're expected to always participate. It's not a place where anyone is watching to see if you belong. You're allowed to sit quietly. You're allowed to listen. You're allowed to take your time. And sometimes that alone is enough to shift something inside. So if today's message resonates, and if you've been feeling pressure to decide something you're not ready to decide, I want to offer you permission to pause. If you want a place where you can sit quietly for 7 days and listen and decide later with no pressure to post, no pressure to perform, the Bonswai Recreation Station exists for that. The link is below and nothing else is required. Tomorrow, we'll talk about why building anything, a business, a dream, a new chapter, has to start with stability, not hustle. And until then, please remember that you are not behind. You're listening to yourself, and that's wisdom. My name is Latasha Martin, also known as Techie Tasha. I know I'm in a location that's not where I normally record, but one of my mentors always says, no excuses, just results. And I wanted to make sure that I honored my commitment to you and to myself by showing up today. God bless, and we'll see you again tomorrow.